live streaming is the absolute best way to market any product, because it does not get more real time than that. And especially when, well, there's a difference if it's a pre-roll on a YouTube video where it's pre-recorded, and something that in real time your audience can see you engage and use. And that's what changes. Firstly, it educates the consumer on what the product is, how to use it. And that level, at that deep, intricate level of engagement, is what sets live streaming apart.
This podcast is sponsored by Pragmatic Solutions, the player account management platform chosen by today's smart betting and gaming operators. Don't let technical constraints delay you from achieving your business goals. Expand your business, boost your margins, and dominate the market in any leading regulated jurisdiction with our powerful, flexible, and secure iGaming platform. Enjoy its extensive marketing tools, compliance protection, real-time data, and a wide portfolio of over 1,000 industry providers. It's time to upgrade your technology. Let Pragmatic Solutions show you the modern approach. Visit pragmatic.solutions and join the smart thinkers.
This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Play, a leading game developer providing player favorites to the most successful brands across the industry. With an award-winning multi-product portfolio of slots, live casino, bingo, virtual sports, and more, Pragmatic Play is powering up new possibilities of play through one single API. Visit pragmaticplay.com and discover your favorite every time.
Bingo, bango, bongo. Akhil Sarin, CMO of Stake, aka Easygo. How's it going, Akhil, my friend?
It's going great. Can't complain. How's it going on your end?
All good here, my friend. I know that you had to run over cats and dogs type of rain and storms and hurricanes over there to get to the recording today, so I appreciate you being here with me. Yeah, man, how's life in Australia?
It's amazing, but as you said, it's unpredictable. Because Melbourne, especially Melbourne weather is just, I was mentioning to you just a while ago that, you know, we had the Grand Prix this weekend, and on the Saturday it was 35 degrees, sunny, hot, humid, and then Sunday was cold, freezing, rainy. So I would love to say I'm used to it, but I'm still wrapping my head around it.
Well, despite the natural disasters, we are fortunate to be here together today. And Akhil, I am really excited about the episode that we're recording here today. Obviously, I've been paying attention to Stake since the very, very early days, the rise of the brand, if you will, to getting Stake into essentially a household brand, like beyond that is eclipsing the industry itself, really and truly. I would even go so far to say that, you know, Stake today in many markets is more or less a lifestyle brand that you created, which really is nothing that any other brand within this industry have been able to do, and especially in such a short time. So you're obviously the mastermind behind the brand, being the first person in the marketing team when Stake was just a very tiny team. Of course, having built it to where it is today. So I want to kind of dig into that story today, sure, of how you managed to position Stake the way you were able to do it. But let's start from the beginning. Talk about your journey from a junior marketer to the CMO for one of the most recognizable entertainment brands of the world. Where did it all begin?
Well, firstly, thanks. I mean, we got into the introduction, but I didn't get a chance to thank you for having me. So I'm really glad that we can have this, sit down and have this conversation. When it comes to my background, I'm born and brought up in India. I've always been super into digital, internet trends, memes, whatever you want to call it, right? And I came to Australia to do an MBA in sports management. When I finished that, I was working, because sports is my passion. And when I finished that, I was looking for roles. I joined AFL, which is the Australian Football League. It's a very unique sport. For those who haven't seen it, I encourage you to at least watch it once. Post that, I mean, just before COVID, I decided that it wasn't that fulfilling, right? And I looked up, I was looking for roles, and I looked at a job called affiliate manager for Easygo. So that's the parent brand, as you know. And I got the role. Ed, who's a co-founder of Easygo, he was the one who interviewed me. And it's a very funny story, but during the interview, I didn't know that he was the founder of the business. But during the interview, I was telling myself, I hope I don't have to work with this guy because of the odd questions that I felt were coming my way. But then after I got into the role, I understood that okay, he this is the reason he was asking me this. Cut to when I joined, I realized that I'm the first person in marketing. The journey began as an affiliate manager. Affiliates are the backbone of this industry. I till date, I mean, deal with hundreds of affiliates, the relationships that I've built over the years. And from there, as we saw traction, as my personal results for the business kept increasing, Ed's confidence, Bijan's confidence kept increasing in my ability to perform. And I was asked to start a team. And then from there, today, this is where we are at.
Brilliant, Akhil. And talk about the early days of Stake. Yeah, you know, one thing that really set the brand apart early on was kind of like the realization that the opportunity of working with streamers, for example. And I know in the prep call you talked about that was an idea that came from your background, essentially. You know, being one of the followers of streamers yourself. So talk about the early days of Stake.
So when I joined, we only had, the product was still in its nascent stages. They had done an incredible job to get it where it was. But for example, we did not even have slots on the website, right? So the product was Stake Originals and a sportsbook that we had launched about 5 or 6 months ago. What I realized very quickly, and this was my third month into the role, was I'm someone who's, and at the time I was 24 years old, I'm someone who's young, who's always on the internet, who's switched on, and I don't know that this product exists. And if I don't know it, then nobody does. So the challenge for me was, how do I make this mass market, really? And I was a big fan of live streaming. I was a big fan of YouTube. I used to actually go to sleep watching YouTube videos ever since I was like 13, 14. So that was for me the way to make Stake mainstream. And another funny anecdote is when we started partnering up with streamers, Ed at the time thought that that might not be the best way to introduce the brand to the market. And I told him, just give me a month. I promise you, give me a month. Let me show you this works, and then we'll scale. So it worked out.
But so it's kind of like, I think maybe what you represented was like a generational shift, right? Where the industry and the previous incumbent operators like the Bet365s of this world had done marketing a certain way for a very long time, kind of perfecting that style of marketing. Whereas you came in, let's say, with a new generational mindset, speaking to an audience in a different way. I think that's kind of like at the essence what set Stake apart. What do you think?
I think so. I think it also stems from the founders of the business, right? They're the same age as I am. So Bijan's 1 year elder to me, Ed's 1 year younger to me. And majority of the leadership group well, now we're getting older, but at the time we're pretty young. So I think that definitely stems from that. It also stems from wanting to do something different, because nobody here wants to build boring products or do boring marketing and just be another one of many. So
Yeah.
you could say it's a collective group effort to really make that brand where it is today.
Yeah, brilliant. And talk a little bit more about the streaming push. So you went to Ed, you made this pitch to, okay, just give me the chance, you know, like, give me 1 month and I'll show you that this is actually going to work. Like, how did that then play out? So you did this trial of like a month, you kind of signed up some streamers, and what was like the pivotal moment where you and Ed realized, oh shit, like this is it?
I think the pivotal moment was the just the conversion of the viewers into actual registrants and FTDs, and how engaged the communities are. Right, live streaming is the absolute best way to market any product, because it does not get more real time than that. And especially when, well, there's a difference if it's a pre-roll on a YouTube video where it's pre-recorded, and something that in real time your audience can see you engage and use. And that's what changes. Firstly, it educates the consumer on what the product is, how to use it. And that level, at that deep, intricate level of engagement, is what sets live streaming apart. So as soon as we saw that with, initially, even if you had 5 viewers, right? If you had 10 viewers, we would partner up with anyone, and we still do today, because even those 10 viewers are people that are taking their personal time out to watch your content, your stream. So this is a community. These people actually really like watching what you do. So the engagement rate is higher than anybody you can think of, any influential person. For me, I think streamers are by far the most influential people on the planet.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I mean, we are seeing that now in general with kind of this long form podcasts and long form content form in a world that is becoming, increasingly about the shorter attention span. Somehow this long form kind of content style has been able to establish itself. And I think the point a little bit of as you point out, that it's becoming so influential is because you really get to know the host, let's say like the streamer, when they are streaming in such long time spans. It's like you become their friend, essentially. And of course,
Correct.
where your friend is if they are promoting a brand, as you want to support that brand, right? And you trust them, and so on and so forth. So,
Exactly.
yeah. How's
And
your
it's
thoughts going on that? Yeah.
no, and exactly, it's not even just when I was talking about the YouTube VODs, right? That's pre-recorded content where, yes, it's engaging, but there is no real-time interaction between the two
Yeah.
parties.
True.
Streaming
Yeah.
has
It's a
chat.
one directional. Yeah.
Exactly. When you are in a chat room and you are not only, firstly, that chat becomes a community of its own. And then when a streamer is engaging with the chat, that two-way relationship is what
Yeah.
makes the deal.
It's a
And
magic
and
moment.
and the best streamers, the best content creators are the ones that understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good point, right? It's like we are grown up with this like one directional form of media where you
Correct.
speak to the audience and the audience sits quiet and listens. Whereas like this magic moment happens when there's a two directional form of interaction through that medium. It's a magic moment that happens for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm interested then. So when you found this channel and you realized that this was going to be a success, was that kind of like a pivotal moment for the business where you redirected, let's say, like most of the marketing efforts to the streamer? Because Stake in the early days, especially, was so known for being that brand that was front and center in streamer. Did kind of the company, did it realign the entire marketing strategy towards streaming at that point?
Well, it wouldn't be that we realigned, because we did realize, and again, I started with this, that, for example, affiliation and traditional affiliates are the backbone of this industry, and so are they of Stake, right? It's about what you can do on top, not what you can do as a bare minimum. So everybody is working with an affiliate. Everybody is getting an article written in the top best 5 casinos, blah, 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 right? It was more so how you can do something on top of that and differentiate the product. So we didn't realign. We did put a new focus on it, but then we made sure that we never let go of the foundation, if that makes
Fair
sense.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. And so at the early days, when you joined Akhil, if I'm not mistaken, there were about 20 employees in the company at the time. Today, obviously, 1,000 plus in Easygo.
Correct.
Can you talk about the, let's say, like the big moments in the early days that really elevated the brand? You mentioned here, of course, the discovery of a streaming being one of them. Like, what were like some of the moments where that really brought the brand to kind of next level, let's say, in the early days?
I think apart from the innovation and product, because that is something that gets swept aside and doesn't get as appreciated as it should be, because the product itself, I always tell everyone, stakes a marketer's dream, because you've been handed the best product in the whole industry to market. So I'm not going to the market with a subpar product where I have to struggle to convince people, hey, please use this. As soon as someone tries it for the first time, they know this is where it's at. So that's a key thing that we've constantly elevated. And it's, in terms of partnerships, in terms of sponsorships, in terms of influencers, there's been certain deals that have elevated the brand time and again, right? But the key is to keep going. So Drake obviously is something that was absolutely incredible for us. UFC, F1, and there is so many moments that just took us one notch up, and we just need to keep replicating that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, let's dive into a few of those deals. Like
Sure.
starting with Drake, then, for example.
Sure.
So you're obviously the person behind that deal, and in terms of brand ambassadorships, there's been quite a lot of big names that have associated themselves with different brands of the industry, but there's no brand partnership that has had the kind of effect and the organic kind of effect that Drake and Stake has had together, with this like person who exemplifies like the kind of affluent, exciting gambler connects with a brand, and so on and so forth. So I'm really curious to hear how that deal happened in the first place. How did you identify Drake? Did you expect that this will happen? How did you get him to be so engaged in the partnership itself? Really curious to hear the story.
Sure. I think it's a pretty interesting one as well. And I've mentioned this a few times before, but it does tie back into the product. So Drake actually was a customer on Stake before he was a partner.
Talk about the Granick, yeah.
Yes. And jokingly, myself, Bijan, and Ed actually sat in a room once we had reached a certain level of marketing, and everything else was going really well in terms of the streamer deals and other avenues of marketing. We're like, what's next? And Bijan and I personally were very into the hip hop culture. And we laughed and said, imagine if we can get Drake on Stake, that would break the internet. And that was a joke. We left it at that. A couple months in, Ed does a lot of VIP management himself. Ed got a message from one of his VIPs saying, hey, what's your mobile number? I'm with someone you want to speak to. And then Ed said, who is this? Like, who? I'm busy right now, but just let me know who is it. Give me some context. And he goes, it's Drake, and he's with me right now. And Ed politely said, F off. I don't believe that. And then he said, give me your number once and let me show you. And he did. And within 2 minutes, he got a FaceTime call. He picked it up. It was Drake standing at his basketball court in his house. And that's how the deal started, really. From that, we learned that he had been playing on Stake. He loved the product, and it was his chosen place to be. So that also taught us a lot of things about brand partnerships. And we've been very clear with that from day one, that whoever you partner with, they must be an organic user of your product, because that is what makes a good brand deal. When someone genuinely fucks with your brand, sorry for dropping but that is what,
Adult show.
yeah, that's what makes an ideal deal, honestly.
Yeah. Isn't that like so obvious when you say it? Yet it's not really thought about in general in the industry. That like you want your ambassador to genuinely, organically connect with your brand and be a customer of your brand, because otherwise there's a disconnect, right? And especially in like this day and age, it becomes so obvious if there's a disconnect between the
Correct.
ambassador and the brand, right? Like if you see some
Yeah.
like fancy worded press release or something, this is, you feel that it's not organic. That's the thing, I think. Yeah.
The key is to not have a transactional relationship, because the reality is that we generally share a direct one-on-one relationship with Drake, or with Sergio Aguero, or with Karan Ojla, or with Igor Creed. You could name 100 such partners where there is no middleman, there is no hundreds of agents. Sure, lawyers get involved at the time of contracting, but when it comes to the actual relationship and the deal, it's managed directly by us, right? And that one-to-one relationship is also really important to build, because if it is a transactional one, it'll always stay as a transactional one. So that's how it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that partnership, let's say, it leads then into, again, these like magic moments when you see Drake courtside of a basketball game with his laptop and his niece, placing a bet on Stake, and that goes viral, right? It's just that's what makes the whole thing, right?
Correct. I
Brilliant.
mean, that's what the product is as well, right? Like, the reality is that nobody wants to go to land-based casinos. uh, it's a lot of time and effort, right? You gotta, either you're on vacation or you gotta fly there, and to get to have that level of excitement, to have that level of gameplay at home or anywhere else in the world. You could be on a yacht in Monaco, you could be anywhere, and you can get that and more on something like a Stake. It's just, yeah, it's just a simple solution of winning.
I like it. So super interesting to hear that story about Drake. I didn't know that before. Let's talk about Formula One. Obviously, you
Sure.
gotten to the point now where you have a branded team, obviously, and in Stake Sauber that was a partnership that grew on for some years until you got to this point. And I'm curious to know as well, like working with an organization like Formula One is incredibly difficult, I would imagine, to navigate all the rules and restrictions. Obviously, Formula One is a circuit that takes place all around the world, so that comes with restrictions in certain markets and how you can use the brand and all the things.
Correct.
And I can just imagine that it's a spider web of of a minefield, essentially, to go into a partnership like that. Yet very powerful, of course, because it speaks to that certain audience. So curious as well to know, when did you decide to take on Formula One? And again, how did those discussions take place? How did you identify the
Sure.
right team? And how did that deal happen, let's say?
Sure. Well, firstly, you're right about it not being an easy one to make. I didn't lose all my hair for cheap. Let me tell you this much. It there's a lot of work that's gone into that, and the way it happened was, I was having a discussion with Ed in my one-on-ones with him, and I told him that, listen, it's time that we do something in the sports sponsorship area, but that's truly global. How can we do something that's truly global, like the definition of global, that touches not just one country or one demographic, but it takes our brand and elevates it. And F1 was it. Me being a big fan of, well, I watch basically all the sports, but me being a big fan of F1, I placed a deal in front of him and I said, I'm thinking of doing this. And this shows you also the internal culture at Easygo. And it stems from Ed and Bijan. Ed told me, I trust you. Whatever you think is right, if you think you can make it work, success is yours, failure is yours. You have my backing. And he never asked me a question after that. I kept him updated with everything. But the idea for me was, how can I take this brand and again make it global and mainstream? The interesting thing about F1, right, is that there's only 10 players when it comes to the team. So there is that separation, that it's not like football, where football is the biggest sport in the world, but it is distributed into multiple different leagues, right? Either you're a fan of La Liga, or you're a fan of the Premier League, or you're a fan of XYZ league, but there's no one central place that you come and watch that sport. And F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport. So firstly, the barrier of entry is extremely high because there's only 10 or 20 brands that can operate in that space. So then it's about what's the best deal. And obviously, we did our due diligence, we explored and spoke to multiple different teams. But the level of visibility that we required, this was the perfect team to go to. And another thing that I'm constantly telling my team, I'm constantly telling everybody I speak to, is that Stake is not yet Apple or Google, where you put one sticker or one logo and everybody goes, that's it. You got to go big or you got to go home. So going big, high risk, high reward, but you got to go big, go home. So that's where we came in. At the level we came in, we rebranded the team. The social media is called at Stake F1 team. So all of those things make this deal extremely sweet. But obviously, as you also touched upon, there's certain things that we must work around. But for me, it's exciting because it's a challenge. So it keeps me going.
Yeah, and isn't that also part of the how you set the brand apart, that maybe
Correct.
other organizations wouldn't take on that challenge, and therefore the fact that you do it make you stand out in its own right, right?
Correct. I think again, it's ownership from myself and the team. Like, I have an incredible team. Like, they put so much effort into making stuff happen, that it's incredible. I mean, I'm sometimes shocked at how much, like, my team inspires me. I'm sure I've inspired them at some stage, but every single day, everybody is here in the office, just hustling, just trying to make shit happen.
Yeah. How important is that culture of working from the office, in your opinion, compared to working from home?
It's It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. I mean, I'm happy to go deep into that because I feel strongly about it.
Yes,
I
please.
feel like obviously there is flexibility, like uh, there's flexibility wherever it's necessary. But as an ideology, I feel like it's really important for everybody to, especially in marketing. I can't speak for any other department, right? Some people can do their work in a silo. So for marketing, you need to have conversations, and you need to have rapid conversations. You need to be able to go to someone's desk, tap them on their like on the shoulder, and go, "Hey, I just had an idea. I need to quickly speak to you about this." If you start scheduling a meeting for everything, firstly, the minimum time someone schedules a meeting for is 30 minutes. And just because a meeting is there, you end up spending 30 minutes. First 5 minutes might be useless, last 10 minutes might be useless, and the core is 10 minutes of conversation. So if you're in the office, you can have that 10 minutes of conversation at someone's desk and move on. And it's obviously not just that, right? That sounds a little bit trivial, but it's the interpersonal relationships that you build with your colleagues, because you spend more than like 8 hours, sometimes 10, 12 hours at the office. And those relationships, like, you want to fight for each other, you want to deliver for each other, and you want to be invested in each other's success. So all of that happens when the team is together. They go for a lunch together, they go for a beer together, they have a laugh together, they have a cry together. And that really builds a core foundation for success.
Brilliant. I like it. Just going back to Formula One again, I'm curious to know how you measure success in a partnership like that, because this is essentially brand marketing that you are pursuing, right? And brand marketing, we can all feel is really important, but sometimes it can be difficult to measure as opposed to more metrical marketing campaigns, affiliate deals where you pay this much and you have an expected runway and so on. How do you measure success in, say, a Formula One partnership?
I think it's a great question. It's the industry, age-old industry question of how do you evaluate a sponsorship? How do you see an ROI of the sponsorship? And sure, there's a scientific way, there's a non-scientific way. The scientific way is you can use third-party tools. You can check. Let's say we had a great race result and we had a lot of broadcast time. What is the organic spike of the brand? Did we get more searches for the word steak, or what is steak? The F1 car, steak F1, right? That's a scientific way. But that is a very, I would say, again, siloed way to look at a deal. What you want to look at is you want to look at the broader perspective. You want to look at where the brand sits, and going back to what do you want from your brand. So if you are at a early brand life cycle where you're 1 year into the brand, or you're 2 years into the brand, and you're still struggling to be profitable, yes, going to do a multi-million dollar sponsorship is not the best use of your money, right? But when you've reached a certain stage, how do you then elevate? Because traffic is anyway coming in. You still have the foundation, you have all your affiliates, you have the streamer deals, you have Drake, you have Aguero, you have XYZ. So what's next? That's how we evaluate. It's not always ROI. That would be a very siloed way to narrow way to look at a deal. So and it's not just F1, right? It's any sponsorship. It's any sponsorship as to, firstly, how many new people will get introduced to the brand. So you got to think of, again, when you're looking at an F1, you got to think of a broadcast number. You got to look at the media value. You again, you have the Nielsen reports, you have all of that good stuff. But I am, and my team and the business is data driven, but not data obsessed. Being data obsessed can lead you in a my personal opinion, can lead you in a path that's not creative at all.
Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion, I think, because when you get to this level of sponsorship like Formula One, tens of millions of euro over a couple of years, and you have the let's say the decision to make: do you want to be a brand amongst other brands on this car, or do you want to actually brand the car itself, right? And the decision have to be a lot of intuition based, of like, okay, if
Correct.
I'm a brand amongst other brands, then my brand in general will be positioned as, one of many, let's say. Whereas, they have this opportunity to brand the full car and all that comes with it. It obviously costs a lot more money, but it then sets the brand apart. So there's like an intuition there. And then you essentially have to try to quantify that in your head somehow?
It
What is
is,
that going to
you
mean from a
are,
more holistic point of view, right? Yeah.
no, you're spot on. You're spot on because I would love to sit here and say we did insane amount of market research and we looked at this report, that report, but that would be untrue. There's a lot of intuition. There's a lot of trust involved from the founders, placed into myself and my team, that you have got us till here and we're confident of what you're doing, so we're going to back you, so you have ownership of this. And of course we did. It's not like we woke up on a Sunday morning and said today we're going to do an F1 deal, right? So we did look at numbers, we did look at those reports, but when it comes to the deliverables and what you want, you know what's best for the brand, and you need to have that confidence, right? This is not like me sounding arrogant. This is me saying I have to be confident every single day when I come to work that I know what's best for the brand when it comes to marketing. Similarly, how Bryce knows what's best for strategy, how Ed knows what's best for XYZ. So sometimes you're going to take a hit, you're going to make bad deals, and that's a part of it. I've made some bad deals. Uh, I've lost the business some money, but it's nothing compared to what we've achieved together as a group overall. So
Yeah, exactly. And if we were to analyze this a bit further, I think also it would be difficult for, let's say, a new marketer, a new CMO to come into a business like this and use that intuition, because it seems to me that that intuition is built up from being there from the very beginning, right? And you
correct.
are so in sync with the brand and so in sync with the business and in sync with how the industry and the world of sports work, that when you kind of are on the same wavelength with the brand and the market, it becomes more easy to use that intuition to see through those type of decisions. It would seem to me that it's just not as easy as like, you understand marketing and so therefore you can take those
Correct.
decisions. But yeah, it comes with that experience, I think, of just being there
It's a
from the start.
fortunate, it's a fortunate place to be in because I've been incredibly lucky to have grown up with the brand, like you say, as opposed to coming in at a high level and just trying to use my experience somewhere else and fit it where it may not belong. So
Exactly.
it's spot on.
Yeah, and it's like the career CEOs, let's say, might be okay to build a structure in a company and whatnot, but the visionaries, are usually the founders or the people that come in with founder mentality, let's say, and you don't need to be a founder, I think, to have founder mentality. But if you are
Absolutely
in a
not.
business, if you're in a business from the very, very early days, your personality becomes part of the business, and the business become part of your personality. And I think that's what is founder mode, the founder
Correct.
mentality. And
Correct.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's giving ownership, right? So you, sure, I'm not the founder, but I was given full ownership to run marketing from the founders. So now that has put me in that founder mode, that no matter what task it is, I will pick it up. If nobody
yeah,
else is there, I will pick it up, right? I'll be the first one to say, let me do it. I'll fix it up, no problem. And that is that I genuinely feel like I'm the ultimate owner of this sector. So it's a fortunate place to be in. I'm quite grateful.
absolutely. And so we talk about a lot of the successes in these type of brand marketing deals. You also mentioned that you had some misses, of course. And so the broader question would be, when you pursue brand marketing and a brand partnership like this, what are the pitfalls, let's say, what are the mistakes that can happen that you should try to avoid?
I think the biggest mistake is, well, firstly, let's talk about like localization, right? We're a global brand. And without understanding the culture of a particular market, trying to replicate what works here does not work, or should not, or you assume it will work, but it does not work here. And you learn that pretty quickly. Or the deals that I was talking about were more so, the biggest pitfall would be where someone's not authentically, organically using your brand. And they may not need to particularly even use it, they need to just get it. But a lot of people will not even, it becomes a transaction and it's like, you give me money, I post for you, I promote you, and that's about it. I'm not going to bother with even looking up what all this product has, what a sports book looks like, what's a casino promotion or XYZ. I'm just going to take your money and I'm going to promote it, and that's it. And initially, we have done deals like that because when we were, let's say, blowing up, we had our inboxes were flooded. They are flooded today as well. But today, we have all that knowledge bank as to what makes a deal good, what makes a deal bad. These are the red flags, these are the green flags. So we've I wouldn't obviously name drop any partner, but we've learned it the hard way.
Brilliant. The final point, or the final brand deal that I want to go into before
Yes.
we move on the discussion is the UFC, of course. And as a long-time follower of UFC myself, I was in Vegas during UFC 100, competed in Grappler's Quest back in the day. It was not that I didn't take notice of the fact that Stake really kind of took over the UFC almost in a very short amount of time, became one of the main partners. Partnered with some of the biggest UFC fighters and really committed the brand to that particular sport. So why did you choose the UFC? And again, really curious to talk about how the deal itself happened. Like, how was it to
Sure.
negotiate with UFC?
Sure. UFC have been a very long time partner of ours, and they've been great to us. The UFC was actually one of our first deals. So, well, if you go back in time, our first one was Israel Adesanya, right? Was a champion at the time, and we were so excited because we finally found this profile that really aligned with our brand, which is young, fresh, unconventional, does not give a damn what anybody else thinks, right? He's here to do him. So we're here to do us. Alignment, right? I told you I'm a huge fan of sports. I told you that I've even tried my hand at doing some MMA training and realized why weight classes exist. But after getting beaten up enough, I did once we started with Adesanya, and our goal was also always move from Adesanya directly with UFC, right? They are an incredible organization. It is such a adrenaline pumping sport that their alignment with our product and their product was also amazing, and the deal just made sense, if I'm being honest. So we've stuck with them and they've stuck with us for what, 4 years now, and we just continue to ramp up our partnership with them. And it's not just partnering up with the UFC, right? It goes back to my point of, you're not an Apple or a Google. You can't just slap one logo and think people will engage. So that's where the strategy of, okay, how many UFC fighters can we actually make brand ambassadors? Because we have the UFC, but imagine everyone that participated in the UFC also promotes us. So we started doing more and more of that. Today we have Shevchenko, we have Alex Pereira, we have Izzy, we have Mirab, we have I mean, I can keep naming them. I can keep naming them, but and they're all really awesome people to work with, and people follow them. Again, it goes back to the streamer stuff. People follow them because they're so engaged. They're not entertainers where they are dancing and singing for you. They're putting their blood, sweat, tears on the line, and people are following that and they're passionate about it. So the level of engagement is extremely high. That's why it all makes sense.
Yeah, brilliant. And even UFC, as you speak about Izzy being that character that he does him, and he finds his own unique way. Even UFC as a brand is comes from a similar background. Where I remember, back in the day, the UFC was struggling to get on the air. They found it difficult to do mainstream marketing, so they were really early to attack social media marketing, which was
Correct.
the big thing at the time because they couldn't get TV spots and stuff like that. And they also came up a bit as a misfit brand kind of thing, fighting to establish themselves and so on, and really establishing themselves as being in the forefront also as a brand because of that, maybe, and similar to the gambling industry as well. We also have to be creative in how we are seen and perceived and so on. It seems to be a great brand from that perspective as well to partner with, as a brand that thinks a bit forward. Yeah.
Our ideology is to challenge the status quo, and UFC have done that. And Dana, credit to him, he gets it. We say there's people that get it and there's people that don't. Dana gets it. Dana knows how to drive the audience. He knows matchmaking. He knows what works, what doesn't. So credit them.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, we talked earlier about the fact that you were the first marketer in the team. Today, you manage a team over 60 people, and you already
Yes.
talked passionately about the worker from the office principle. But what are some of the other principles for management and leadership that you bring into the team? Like, how do you keep the team engaged, and what type of culture do you try to foster in the team?
Well, one thing that works to my advantage is that I'm a people's person. I'm super sociable. I want to be around people all the time. Yeah, of course, I need my downtime, but I love being around people. I love having conversations. I guess it's part of marketing as well. And for me, the most important aspect of leadership is being approachable. I don't believe in closed offices. I don't believe in fully blocked out calendars and only doing high level meetings. I ensure that every single day I'm there, every single day I'm approachable. Till date, 15 times a day, I have people that come to my desk, have a quick chat with me, and move on. And it's what makes it special for me, right? Obviously, even before I joined here, I had managed a team when I was 18, but that was only 6 people. But that still gave me a lot of understanding into people dynamics, understanding what are the motivating factors, why a certain individual wants to do it this way, but why they want to do it this way. You got to have empathy, you got to be understanding, you got to be approachable, and you got to be there for them. It's as simple as that, because these are the people that will fight for you, and you got to fight for them. So as long as everyone in the team believes that, there's obviously, you need to have, when you scale up, what also becomes important is your core head offs, right? Who are your direct reports? And at some stage, obviously, you cannot have 20, 30 direct reports, so you will be limited to, well, management principles say more, not more than 6. Well, that's, I would say, for lazy people. For me, it's at least 10, 12. Well, right now I'm at 10 direct reports, and then everything flows from there. And having trust in that team, uh, and they're all also people, by the way, that have been there for years now. So we believe strongly in rewarding people internally rather than just looking externally for talent. So uh, I can go on and on. Honestly, I'm very passionate about people. I'm very passionate about the team. I love my team. I genuinely love them. It sounds cliche and a bit cringe, but they're awesome. They're fucking awesome.
A sign of a great leader, Akhil, that's for sure. Moving on, it's also a topic that we can go into on a separate podcast, I think, as well. In the future, we'll do a follow-up on leadership only. But
Sure.
now I want to move on and talk also about Kick, which is another those type of projects that only a certain organization would take on, let's say. Kick is obviously a leading streaming platform at this point that is in this David and Goliath battle against the incumbent. So I'm really curious, especially a brand and a platform like Kick, which is so dependent on those networking effects, which makes it so difficult to start in the first place, because the biggest challenge happens right at the beginning before you have those networking effects. There's a really good book on that topic called The Cold Start Problem by Andrew Chen. It's like, how do you get from 0 users to actually getting users to come back to the platform? Like
Correct.
that, like chicken and egg problem is like the most difficult problem to solve for social media platforms and other platforms that depend on networking effects. So I'm really curious to know, when you took on this challenge to build Kick, what was your strategy to just get the platform going? And can you talk a little bit more perhaps on where Kick is today, how things are going, and what are the plans for the future?
Sure. Well, it really stems from Ed's years and years of streaming, because he was a streamer himself for the longest time. He used to stream, I mean, a variety of content, and he's been into that space for a long time. So that was one where it makes, obviously, the decision to launch the product becomes so much easier when it's from a consumer of the product,
Sure.
right? Then the years of working with creators really helped with those network effects. We knew that the market needed a change. Twitch had become a monopoly. I mean, it still is, and they weren't really about being creator first, because after reaching a certain point, they just started slashing rates. They started treating people a certain way, and Kick is all about being creator first. Whether now is through the Kick Partner Program, which in 2 years, 2.5 years, we've distributed more than 50 million US through the partner program. And that mainly serves to the medium and small creators, by the way. We don't have creators apart from 3 or 4 creators that are big industry heavy hitters. That's not what's driving the most amount of viewership hours on Kick. What's driving is those small to medium creators and giving them a new home and making sure that they get what they deserve. uh, the 95.5 subsplit, not taking a dollar from the streamers community, right? For us, it's such a fundamental thing where if we are just a platform, we're literally just provided a platform for you to participate in, but you are the one creating the content. It is your community, and they are using their own money to subscribe to you. Why the hell would we participate in taking money away from that, right? So that was one of the main things that we implemented, which is 95.5. And then we implemented the Kick Partner Program, because how do we monetize the streamers? And yes, the David and Goliath, going against Silicon Valley giants. One thing that I've learned is we're up for a challenge, right? Time and again, when things are stacked against us, we smile and we say, okay, we're going to turn this around. So within 24 hours, I remember within 24 hours of its launch, we had like 200,000 signups on the platform, which was mind blowing to us. Today, we're sitting at 60 million plus users of Kick. We are dominating a couple of markets. Like, sure, we have a long way to go in North America, but if you look at, there's actually a third-party website. I don't know, kick-versus-twitch.com. So if you look up kick-versus-twitch.com, they actually track different market shares of where Kick is competing, right? And if you look at the MENA region, we own 90% of the market share now. If you look at Turkey, we own about 70 something percent. All of Spanish, which is a huge community, the LATAM region, we're at a 50-50 split, right? It's North America where Twitch continues to be the monopoly, and then we're coming for them. It's as simple as that. So in terms of future, I think the future is extremely bright. What we've done this year, excuse me,
Always.
what we've done this year is we focused on product. We want to compete on the best viewer experience, and that's crucial to winning the viewers over. Because initially we went for, let's sign X, Y, and Z, let's do this deal, let's do that deal, and very quickly we realized that what matters is who's watching them and the product. So the amount of work that we've put in for the product, and now you see it coming every single week. Next week we've got something amazing coming out. 2 weeks after, we have a new app. 4 weeks after, we have another integration. We just launched the Kick API in Jan. So we're on a roll, right? And I don't think anything can stop us.
I mean, Twitch obviously owned by Amazon and Jeff Bezos, and I think personally Jeff Bezos should focus more on building rockets and web service and all of that. Like, this is not his space, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, incredible businessman, right? To get where he is at, but just obviously some products get left behind when you have such a vast portfolio of companies that you acquire. Some get more love, some don't. Some make money, some don't. So,
yeah. Again, I do think from a brand marketing perspective, Kick obviously part of Easygo, and just the culture again. Like, this is a company that decides to take on Jeff Bezos. You know what I mean? Like, again, from that perspective, I think it's just one of
someone
those.
Someone has to.
Someone has to do it, man. Yeah. Someone has to do it, and the community was screaming for it as well, right? It was that's how it was. So yeah,
correct.
Just one of those things as well from that bigger perspective. Just taking the helicopter view once again, that positions the brands as it does, and then leading into that, I don't know how much you can comment about this, Akhil, but because you have taken on these type of projects recently, of course, press release that Easygo or Kick might make a bid for TikTok then, right? And that went viral and was seen all over the internet and so on and so forth. And obviously the community believe
It's
that
going to be
this could
called.
be a possibility, right?
It's going to be called Kick Talk.
TikTok.
Now it's about having some fun as well, right? Like it's a different product to another product, so it's about having fun with the community as well. And obviously, I think it was a tweet made in jest, but it landed really well.
I'm
So yeah,
looking
we
forward to
call
TikTok
it.
in the future.
Yeah, we call it Kick Talk.
It's
That's the
worth the
new name.
money just for that rebrand.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's jump into the future now. So we've established that, of course, Stake has now reached the point of kind of mainstream global dominance within the industry. It has established itself as a household name outside the industry, as an entertainment brand worldwide. Where do you go from here? So if I understand things correctly, the regulated markets is now the next big push. I see
Correct.
press releases that we post at Next.io all the time about Stake entering new regulated markets. But I'm really curious to hear from your perspective now. The brand has really reached a really high level. Like, where do you go from here?
I think from a brand perspective, right? We again, it's something that we internally keep saying that this is the start of our journey. Like it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Sure, we had an extremely fast engine that got us top of the hill, but then how do you sustain that, and how do you grow further from there? And regulated markets is the answer to that. It is our strategy for long term sustainable growth. We want to be the world's biggest entertainment brand, right? We don't view ourselves as just being in the gambling or gaming category. We feel like we're competing with Netflix, but we were competing with people's entertainment time. And uh, rightfully said that we're acquiring more and more licenses. Denmark, Italy, Colombia, Peru. I mean, there's so many that and so much work that's going on, and you'll see more and more in the coming months. So that is the strategy for the future.
Brilliant. And so final question for you here today, Akhil. Like
Yep.
tying all of this together, where do you see Stake in 3 years' time? Can you give some like hard, bold predictions here to wrap up the episode today?
Stake to the moon.
To the moon, man.
No, honestly,
I love it.
we are generally so passionate about we just want to keep building, and we want to keep doing. Nobody here is about resting on their past laurels. um, everyone in the leadership group is here every single day. I'm pretty sure it's 7:30 p.m. right now, and I'm pretty sure if I walk over to the next building, Ed's there, and he'll be there. He'll go home, 2 hours, he'll take a break, and he'll be back online till 1 a.m. Sleep, wake up here again, right? And that's because we want to take it to the moon, and we believe it will go to the moon. So
Brilliant. I like that. They're still not close to the ceiling. You still see yourself as early in the process,
yes, for
essentially,
sure,
and there's a lot of work to be done to get to that higher space. Yeah.
for sure.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Akhil. Thank you so much. I'm really thankful for taking the time out of your busy calendar, of course, especially at this time over in Australia. Really interesting to hear the thoughts and going deep into Stake and laying out the handbook for how this is all done. So thank you so much, Akhil. It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and it's amazing having a chat with you always.